Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down something called management of change, or MOC for short. Now, this is a super critical process for keeping workplaces safe whenever things are in flux, and we're going to walk through exactly how it all works, step by step.
So let's just dive right in with a big question. In pretty much any workplace, especially industrial ones, change is the one thing you can always count on, right? New equipment, different materials, updated procedures, it's constant. But does all that change automatically have to be dangerous? The answer is a huge no, but only if you manage it the right way.
And that really gets to the heart of the matter. See, when you cut corners, just swap out a piece of equipment or tweak a process without thinking it through, you're basically rolling the dice. You're introducing all these unknown risks. But if you have a structured, managed approach, you can systematically sniff out and get rid of that risk before it ever becomes a problem.
So what are we really talking about here? Well, management of change is this formal, systematic process. Honestly, you can think of it like a safety checklist for change itself. Its whole purpose is to make sure that any modification, whether it's big or small, doesn't accidentally weaken the safety systems you've worked so hard to build. It's all about being proactive, not reactive.
Okay, so the whole MOC process really breaks down into three main phases. First up is phase one, the blueprint. And it's exactly what it sounds like. This is all the prep work, the planning, all the crucial homework you have to do before anyone even thinks about picking up a tool.
Inside this blueprint phase, there are 3 steps you just cannot skip. I mean, they're non-negotiable. First, you have to compile every bit of relevant safety info. Second, you gather input from the people on the ground who will actually be affected by the change. And third, you formally evaluate the potential impact. Seriously, skipping any one of these is like trying to build a house with no foundation. It's just not going to work. And let's be really clear about this. Gathering employee input isn't just about making people feel good. It is a critical data gathering mission. The folks working with this stuff day in and day out have insights you just can't get from a manual. So you use things like interviews, group chats, and surveys to capture that frontline wisdom. And then, and this is the most important part, you actually use it. You build that feedback right into your new policies and procedures.
All right, once your blueprint is solid, we're ready for phase 2, the rollout. This is when the plan turns into action. It's the active part where the change actually happens. And believe me, it needs to be guided just as carefully as the planning was.
One of the biggest hurdles during the rollout is bridging the gap between different teams. Your engineering folks are usually laser-focused on design, specs, and theoretical efficiency. Meanwhile, the people on the production floor are worried about practical operations and everyday safety. A great MOC process acts as a translator, bringing these two critical viewpoints together. And at this stage, communication has to be absolutely flawless. We're talking about crystal clear instructions for every single part of the process, including all the safety info and what to do in an emergency. And here's the kicker. Those instructions can't be locked away in a binder in some office. They have to be right there, easily accessible for the people who are actually doing the work.
So you might be wondering, how do you make sure all this great communication actually happens? Well, one of the best ways is to formalize it. You can set up something like a change review board. This creates a dedicated space where everyone involved can talk easily, ensuring those crucial conversations don't just fall through the cracks. Now for the final phase. And honestly, this is the one that gets overlooked so often, the follow-through. Okay, the change is done, the new equipment is in, but the job isn't over. This phase is what makes sure a change actually sticks and was successful for the long haul. Just think about it. One little change can kick off this massive documentation domino effect. That new piece of equipment? Well, now your engineering drawings, like your PNIDs, are out of date. Your maintenance schedules are all wrong. Your safety documents might be missing key info. It is absolutely vital that every single affected document gets updated to reflect the new reality on the ground. And here's another critical step. You have to verify that the change actually did what you wanted it to do. Did it really make things more efficient? Is the process genuinely safer? You need to use monitoring tools or new checks to track performance and confirm that the change was a success. You can't just cross your fingers and assume it worked. So, when you look at all 3 of these phases together, you start to see something really important. Management of change is so much more than just a bureaucratic process or a bunch of checkboxes. When a company truly embraces it, it becomes a core part of its safety culture. And by the way, this isn't just some nice-to-have corporate philosophy. This stuff has real regulatory teeth.
This whole framework lines up directly with OSHA's 14 core elements of Process Safety Management, or PSM. That's the industry gold standard for managing hazards in complex environments.
And remember, MOC is not a set-it-and-forget-it deal. All that documentation you created becomes this incredible historical record. Later on, when you're trying to figure out why something failed or you're planning your next improvement, that MOC file is an absolute treasure trove of information. It becomes a living, breathing part of your safety system.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought for you to take with you. Think about your own workplace. When change comes along, is everyone scrambling and just reacting to it? Or is there a calm, systematic process that kicks in? Because the difference between reacting to change and truly managing it, well, that's the difference between hoping you'll be safe and knowing you will be.